tell us a little bit about yourself. I don't know much about you. Like, that's not your identity.
But you do know my name.
I did.
Yeah, right. So I introduced with interesting like icebreaker I use usually with my name. So my name is German. It's spelled German, but I'm not German. Yeah. Yeah,
It's very handy, very easy to remember.
Yeah. And it originates from Russian name German, and was just translated, from Latin to Cyrillic, like as German, and then back to Latin as German. Yeah, but it's supposed to be German. Yeah. So when I introduce myself, I say my name is German, but you can call me German.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm 19 years old. I work on smart contracts as a Rust core developer, and I was part of the very first Blockchain Academy in Cambridge, 2022.
What's your background? Like, what are the people that get into the academy? Because it's a to me it's this rather scary education. It seems like you would have to be like incredibly good to get in, because it's like limited slots. It's supposed to create like very strong developers out of the gate, and it's like gabbing teaching and like all the core developers teaching. Like, what is your actual background, and what does it actually take to get into the academy, and why did you get in?
So I would start with maybe clarifying what you mean by good. Like, do you mean like, it's very subjective, like to call someone good, if you talk about being experienced, then on a relative scale, I'm not that experienced. I didn't, like, before going to academy, I didn't really have much of the work experience or like, work in the industry, like as some of the other guys in the academy, like with maybe 20 years experience. Before the academy, and even now, I am a student.
A what?
A student. Yeah, it's like a student at University of Southampton in England.
So have you worked as a developer?
So before the academy, I was doing just part-time job as some sort of IT boutique, just doing everything and nothing at the same time, like kind of being jack of all trades. But I did get a chance to push the production, so I did have some sort of responsibility and authority. But in terms of like programming experience, that may be like one of the questions people would ask, is I was kind of interested in programming since I was 12, and that kind of passion came from very cliche interest, like making games.
We all want to make games. That's how like 90% of people get into programming.
I was like, okay, I want to make a game, so I started with literally just opening google.com and then typing how to make a game. How to make a game. Like,
I love that.
Yeah, and I discovered this like Unity engine, and then okay, that's cool. I downloaded my PC, launched it, and then used some like presets, prefabs, and like generated like a sample 3D scene, and then launched it, and then was basically like it was a sphere moving like on a plane scale, and then okay. That's good. So, but how do I make it better? Like, how do I actually like introduce new functionality and make my actual game from it? And then that's why I encountered that I actually need to write programs. It's like, making a game is not just about like dragging and dropping from like Explorer. It's actually also writing like scripts and logic.
And you run into that limitation, and then that breaking those limitations puts you down that path.
Yep. So I went to a forum, and like some Russian forum, and then I asked a question like, okay, so what sort of like program language I should use to make games in Unity? And then the answer was C#. And C#.
That was my after PHP, C# was my first one.
Yeah, but in fact, C# was the first language I encountered and used to learn about programming, which like actually quite I would say unusual and untypical, because usually people come across Python, and so I downloaded Visual Studio, and then I came across like all this like different like tabs and boxes, and then like what the hell do I do? So again, what I did So I went to Google. And like I can basically summarize my whole like learning experience as just Googling stuff and then figuring out by myself. I didn't really do any courses. I didn't really attend any boot camps. I was literally just sitting on my laptop thinking, okay, I have this problem. How do I solve it? Okay, like maybe there's no like direct answer to how to solve the problem, but there might be some tangible, solutions to sub problems.
Yeah.
And
I really like that because like a lot of people go like, oh, computer science and I come from a background where I never studied computer science, and when people ask me like, how do I learn programming, I'm all like, my advice tends to be decide what you want to do and then slam your head against it until it's real. It's a lot about like just solving problem after problem after problem until you've reached your point.
But it never ends. It actually never ends because it's to me. It might sound very like cheesy, but to me, like programming, like computer science, is an art, and in art, you should stop at certain point because
Like,
with writing program, like you should like, it's like a drawing a picture, it's like you can always make it better, you can always perfect it, but there's a point like when you need to stop, otherwise you just all overcomplicate it.
there's always like you can always refactor it into a more elegant way.
Exactly, you can just one feature, just one less feature to make it perfect, and then it here bugs, and then
But that begets the question, how did that lead you to blockchain?
it was the just the beginning of Bitcoin, roughly. And then it was like kind of like a scientific event at my school, and then one of all the like students from high school presented Bitcoin. It's like as a like peer-to-peer cash system to to the group of students, and then that's like when it first like caught my eye, because I was always interested in fintech. Like genuinely, like I was interested in fintech, and this was something like refreshing, something like unusual, something new. And then
wait, I want to say on that. Like, what about fintech appealed to you?
about fintech.
Yeah,
What do you mean?
like, well, because it's not the most usual thing. Like, why are you like, what interests you about finance and tech and that overlap?
I really like, well, not like, it's like very like subject, interested in the concept of money. Like money, like to get rich, like money is a source of exchange, and like what with the underneath, like all the the implications since the introduction of money, and then money like serve it's they keep the value, and essentially money it's not just, in my opinion, exchange of like, it's not medium of exchange of value, it's also maybe a medium of exchange of knowledge at this point, like at our current development. And also I like to program, like, and here's like intersection of the two concepts. And
I can really relate to that. It's like, for so long in my life, money was just like this superficial concept that was just annoying in life. And once you start thinking about it, what is money, like leads you down this rabbit hole of what is value, what is liquidity, and then it becomes endlessly fascinating and endlessly complex. So you were at the point where you were interested and learned about blockchain and like found it fascinating. And I think a lot of people are in that position, but getting from that point to actually working in blockchain full time, like you do, that whole like sense of steps. Can you talk a little bit about your path, but in the context of why people fail in that? Well, like why they walk, why some people like don't walk out that path, and why you went all the way. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. So personally, like, from my personal experience, it's been a long way since like I first heard about Bitcoin. Then I first actually learned about Bitcoin. Then I first learned about smart contracts. And then first learned about like beyond something smart contracts, and then
it's a little bit like an overnight success. Take 10 years,
yes.
kind of like, or 6 years in your case.
Yeah, so it's been a long way, and then it's not like I've been like focusing on this thing like all the time, like full time since like I first heard about Bitcoin.
It's like a percolating process.
So again, like I first like maybe at the time when I heard about Bitcoin, I wasn't really ready to understand it. Like I didn't really have enough like knowledge, like genuine knowledge, to understand it. But then I went to uni. I started thinking about my career opportunities. Like, so what I'm gonna do after, like, where, like, what kind of career path I'm gonna take. And to me, the traditional kind of state of things in Web2 didn't really appeal to me. It literally just was very boring. It was, to me, every software engineering job in Web2 looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's just, you go to...
deploy a CRUD React app.
Yep, yeah. And, there's might be some interesting, like, positions like in Bloomberg, like, like where you need to, like, 10 years of experience to get in. But you need to do something beforehand to reach that point. So that's when I realized, okay, I want to do something different for myself. Not like something different, like I want to be different. I want to just do something different for myself. And to be fair, I was just really interested. I really liked the concept. I wanted to explore it more. And I wanted to find out where it was going to take me. And I just stick to it. And there were like a lot of setbacks, bear market, crash, and then like lots of people around me questioning what I do, like why I do it, and like
thing, like me, I discovered Bitcoin a long time ago, but I was really excited about it for a while, and then I went into this. It's just tulips, and it was just a weird thing to me, and there was a lot of that, a couple of years of that percolating time where I just processed the thing. I needed to turn it over and over in my head and attack it from many angles until I came to the conclusion that this is actually very solid. And that takes time.
That takes time.
Because it's very counterintuitive. It's very different.
That's what I liked about it. It's completely different.
Yes.
It's counterintuitive. You go to typical Web2, you have exactly like you have your database, you have your REST API, you have your client.
Solved.
There's nothing to invent. Like you go to this is just my personal opinion.
I love that. Yeah. There's nothing to invent.
You go to Web2, and then you just iterate over like iterations. You iterate over iterations. You just iterate over like what was invented.
How can we make this React app perform 200 milliseconds?
Add support to Internet Explorer 11. It's always the same. Center the div. To me, like I didn't want to do that. And it turns out like you just essentially become like a white collar.
That's true. I've never thought about React development as the new white collar worker, but that's very true actually. So that brings us like why you ended up in Web3, but then how did that lead to the academy?
Yeah. So how did it lead? So to give like a short background story. So I joined my first, I joined my university, started my first year in university, and I was looking for a community, for a blockchain community to share, explore, exchange ideas, maybe build some stuff, just hack around. And there wasn't one, just, to my surprise. And so realized, okay, so if there's no society, I really want to find people that similar
find
interest.
your people.
Yeah, so I just organized one. I just organized society like a blockchain club.
But you just made a community.
Yeah. And
how?
You just at some point you need to look silly. You just go around, put like those posters, advertise. Then you need to go to people you never met, like such as lecturers, and talk to them, and then talk to them to find not lecturers that might be interested in giving the guest lecture. Then you need to find like it's like it takes a lot of it literally helping to develop so many soft skills, like to network, communicate, deliver my ideas.
And like organizing something from scratch is like one of the most humbling things. You need to like learn a lot of things from the side. But one thing that I've learned about organizing and like creating communities is that it's a lot easier than you think it is. Like because it's like there literally isn't nothing, so you kind of win, and also it puts you at the center of it. Like you get to connect with people that that you otherwise would never meet.
Exactly. Yeah.
That would be if you went to an event, like it would be very hard to talk to them. Right. But if you're the organizer, like you talk to them a lot, and everybody knows you as like, oh, it's the community organizer person.
Yep. This is one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is that people point finger at me. Oh, this is that dude that doing crypto.
You become the last guy.
Yeah, like two sides of the coins, and then at some point, like sometimes, like the other type of the people, like the haters, they sometimes do more of them, less of them. It varies, and then this is like something like again coming back to the original question, like how to fail, basically. It's to listen to those people. Like if you want to fail, like in blockchain and Web3, you need to listen to those people. To the not even criticism, just some nonsense they talk chat around you. Because when you actually try to talk to them, you realize they don't actually understand what they're talking about.
Yeah,
and that's the scary part. So I run this blockchain club, and then at some point we grew to like 300 members. I thought, okay, we need to collab, we need to collaborate.
300 is good.
Yeah, like in a year.
How big is the city?
So we have like 20,000 students.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Then 300 of those turn out to be in our Discord server. So
yeah.
And basically, I connected. Like I joined this basic Telegram chat. And it's called like University Blockchain Association, where we've all the like clubs and universities across the world. And then at some point, like around springtime, that's when they started advertising the academy. One of the presidents just dropped just the Google forum. It was just a Google forum, like sign up for Polkadot Blockchain Academy. And then I went to Google forum, okay, like Blockchain Academy, like it was already something like interesting, something unusual. Mm-hmm. And then...
Did you know about Polkadot at all at this time?
So...
How much did you know?
Actually, I knew about Polkadot before because at some point, like as a first year, we're all kind of like green and ambitious. I wanted to build my own blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so similar with the game, I Googled how
does one build a blockchain?
Yeah. Or like framework for building blockchain. And
that's so funny because you're just like looking for a framework. It's a framework to import blockchain.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
And then I came across Substrate. That's okay. And then I realized, no shit, there's actually a framework for building blockchain. Finally, someone like get to this point of making it. And obviously, as a part of Substrate on the website, there was advertisement of Polkadot, like, and then the shared security.
But this kind of also like shows the whole thing with Substrate and Polkadot. Like that's when I saw Gavin walk out on stage at the Web3 Summit, and like he pulls the plastic of like a laptop fresh from the Apple Store, hands it to someone in the audience, asks them to go to the Apple setup process while he talks about a little bit about Substrate, and then he grabs the laptops, and in 50 minutes he proceeds to build a blockchain, launch it, and upgrade it. And I'm like, okay, this is different. Like this is actually a developer experience, that somebody understands that we can't just have shoveling coins around. We actually need a platform that you can build software on, and that can answer this very question, like how do you build a blockchain to make it Googleable? because so that people like you can find it.
It must be accessible. It must
Yes.
be searchable in the first place.
Yes. It must be accessible. That's perfect.
Yeah. I filled the form like, give it a try, why not? Like, and even though like the, kind of the specification, the typical candidate that we're looking for is like someone with Web2 experience trying to get into Web3 space, I thought, maybe I'm not necessarily fully qualified, but I have Web2 experience and I still need to give it a try. Maybe, maybe I'm going to be lucky.
Yeah.
And after 2 months, I got email, from Parity, I think it was from Parity, and saying like, oh, like you've been shortlisted. Now we need to do a Rust test. Okay. Okay.
But like, what were the parts of the application? What did you fill in?
So they were asking for GitHub. I think can't remember exactly, but obviously like first name, second name. The question, do you some bureaucratic questions such as like, do you require visa to travel to UK? I luckily did not require at the time. And what's your kind of experience? Like very like short, input box. And most importantly, again, GitHub, LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was it. It was relatively short. It was relatively short. Like,
there was it wasn't like, oh, I'm going, like, it was not applying for a job where you have to put in a CV or anything.
I definitely didn't have to write essay either, like, to justify motivation. Just apply.
So it's basically like, I guess I'll fill out this form before I like go to this party.
Yeah, it was super easy, super straightforward, super accessible. So and then there was Rust test. I did it, I passed it, and then there was like the last moment, like I think interview. Was the interview before or after?
It would have been interview and then Rust test.
Okay, so
interview and then Rust test.
Okay. I'm like interview. Interview was like the most, I would say maybe like interesting like process out of the whole. It's because like, okay, now I have interview. Okay, and then like my thinking was kind of pessimistic. It was like, no way I'm gonna like go beyond that stage. Like I was already happy I got to the point of interview.
Yeah, but like here's something like you say Rust test. Like how much Rust did you know?
I knew about it before, but always wanted to learn it. Never had the chance. Then kind of picked it up in April, and in end of June I had my test.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So tell me about the interview.
So again, I was kind of like, actually not gonna lie, I was a little bit nervous because before that I was applying to internships and then I had other interviews and then like with Amazon and other companies, and I was rejected like after interview, even though like the interview seemed to go well, like I had like positive like impression after each interview, like, but it was like either like just ghosting me and then there was like no response and like rejection. So I didn't really.
Interviews are like horrible. Like it's like
I
was rejected. I'm like, I've no idea why.
So interviews are a horrible indicator how well you're doing.
They tell you nothing. Like,
it's just
But you still judge yourself by them. Like it's, or at least I do.
And then with every interview, like you become even more nervous. So I had an interview with one of the Parity employees, and it actually went super smooth. I've never had such a like great experience in an interview. It was like like conversation we have right now. So like, oh, how are you? And then the interview for the first 10 minutes was just talking about herself, like, which made me like really comfortable. It was just like I actually relaxed for a moment, and then she asked me like lots of personal questions, like asked me like about the application, like actually read through my application and then ask about this like university club thing I do, like so I shared that with her, like that's cool, and then she asked me a couple of other bureaucratic questions, said okay, fine, you're good. So then interview, and then it was like 2, maybe 3 days of waiting, and I would say like the first like 2 days were really like stressing me out. It was like, Okay, it was too good. It was too good. I cannot fail now. If I fail, I don't know. Like I'm just gonna go into another like strict session.
I've now poured my identity into this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I heard back like, oh, congratulations, you've been shortlisted.
What kind of person shouldn't apply to the academy?
The kind of person shouldn't apply.
Yeah. What about
The-
it might be something that
The
person didn't like?
All right. So, first of all, if you're not fully passionate about like, what you potentially commit to, if you can just like, if you can't like really commit to something, like, to be brutally honest, then you shouldn't apply to academy.
Mm-hmm.
And
Why not?
Yeah. With me, like, okay, I go there, and it's free in the first place. They pay like, and then they accept it. They went through this process, organized the whole thing. So I should at least pay them respect back, and try to get out as much as possible from it. If you go there to just for the vibes, like to kind of meet people out, to network. This is not networking event, and sometimes like you don't talk to people for 2 days, like when you're in academy, because like you're too busy with the assignments, or like looking through the substrate docs, or like trying to figure out because for the first one we also had to write like a report, and like writing a report, like research video through the white papers.
It's very like I have never like been at the event, but I've gathered that it is very intense. Like I have people that I know that are applying, like are attending it right now, and we usually talk quite a bit, and like they just disappeared off the radar. This is monk mode. This is monastery level.
Yeah, my parents thought I died there, because like I didn't call them for a couple of weeks. Like, I just like, did you get there finally? Because like I just forgot. Like I didn't have time like to pick up my phone. I was my kind of to talk about my regular like day. Like I would wake up, then in Cambridge there's like a Pret, a coffee shop. I would go there, pick up a coffee, like a bagel, and then go to lecture. that was, and then sit in lecture like 4 hours. Then it was lunch, and then our lunch is your only time to like kind of potentially talk to your peers, so like to your course mates, to kind of like maybe network and socialize a little bit. But you usually just talk about blockchain, so like expect a lot of like just discussion about blockchain. And then maybe like the best thing about academy, like just to maybe start talking about that, is the people that you meet there. It's like really unique selection of people, which you can always talk to. Then you can learn something new, like something really new. People just literally focused on the technology.
Yeah.
And and even like with the academy was kind of the same. No one talked about like dot to the moon.
Yeah, but like it's. I think it's even deeper than just the technology, because I've been to a lot of technology conferences, like C++ conferences, and like an instant.
No, C++
like there's a lot of that. In addition to the technology and the product, there's also so much heart. People are like, you might imagine like blockchain and like financial markets, like people are here because they're interested in making money and stuff like that. That's not that at all. Like it's ridiculous how much ethos and like people come. If you're working with any of these things, like everybody could be making more money at another place if they wanted to optimize for that, but that's not why they are here. Like they're here to change something about the world fundamentally. That's why so many people come.
You need to be able to learn quickly also. You need to pick up things like, and I'm not like, people like learn in different ways and different speed, that's fine. But you just need to have like this kind of perseverance and dedication, most importantly,
Yeah, just learn it, just Google it, and like dung 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 dung.
Yep. Again, but you don't need to do like computer science degree. Like I'm not saying you need to do computer science degree like to do well in academy. And obviously, in blockchain, it's not just about like cryptography. It's not about consensus. And even in parity, we have engineers like working on different things. And then sometimes like I learn things that I never knew about.
And I think like I want to end on that, like the note that I really love your quote of, in order to change the world, you need to change yourself. And I think that the people watching this video are probably watching this video because there's something in themselves like that right now. It's like if you are on this point when watching this video, you like, let's face it, you're at a converging point, and otherwise you wouldn't end up in this video.
Yeah.
It's this is a very special moment in time, and this is time to make a change if you're considering it.
It is. And do not hesitate and apply to the academy at the link below in the description.
You are going to cease existing almost for those.
Don't stress people out. It's not like you cease to exist. You know, it's you're on a journey. I think it was a journey. You know? Like you go on a hike in mountain. You know, and then
Yeah, it's like a hike.
yeah. Sorry to interrupt. It's just like do test out. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, roll it.
Yeah. Yeah, just roll it out.
Roll it, man. Roll it.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about? Maybe someone can give a kickoff.
Yeah, I'll be rolling.